I'm Mr. Miyagi, and this is Mr. Miyagi's Workshop. Today we're going to be talking about XS650 oil pumps. Now those are located on the clutch side of your engine, right there. These are what supply the oil, the lifeblood of the XS. Now that's one of the major things when you buy an old bike that's been parked for a while. I would really suggest to check this. Pop the cover off. Yeah, you're going to have to replace the gaskets and stuff, but it'd be worthwhile. And I'll tell you why. These things, you can see as it spins, it's drawing oil in from the sump area underneath this area here, pulling it up, pushing it, pulling it through the pump, pushing it out, coming out this hole, and then going back through a filter and up through here and into the lifeblood and up, oil everywhere into your engine. Now if this isn't working properly, you can have a seized engine. So it's worthwhile to check the pumps. And here's another example why. See that little feeler gauge there? It's stuck in. You know what it's stuck in? You know what it's stuck in? You know what it's stuck in? It's stuck in a crack. The outer rotor on this is totally cracked all the way straight through. So what could happen on that? Well, it could jam, it could break. If that jams or breaks or whatever, it's going to seize a motor. Not a good idea. Another thing that you need to check, especially on this case here, I bought this off of a frozen motor. Frozen. And what would happen is it was full of gunk. I mean, the pump was full of gunk. And I cleaned this out a bit in this area, but you can still make out all this crap right there. It was all packed inside that pump. Well, I wonder why it froze up. The oil never got changed. It never got cleaned. Every once in a while, it's a good idea to pull these covers off. Pull that pump out. Double check it. Now they do make upgraded pumps for this. Mike's XS sells them. I think they're about $100. They're called a performance pump. So they put out a little bit more oil. But they also make replacement gears for these, and I don't think they're all that expensive. I buy them. I think they're like probably $30 around there. Don't quote me on it. There'll probably be a flyer come by with the right price. But it's a good idea to check and clean, and these do tend to wear out. I like to replace mine. Then I know I've got a good pump. One thing you want to make sure is that you clean out everything and don't lose your pins. These pins are locator pins, would help you locate the pump in this area. There's a pin right spot there and there's a pin there where these come in and they fit and they drop into, and it locks that pump from turning even though you have screws, but it helps locate everything. But you want to make sure that this surface is clean. This surface right in this area is super clean. So clean your case and stuff. While you're at it, you might as well replace the gasket for the kickstart. If you still have the kickstart, some guys have taken these out and bought the plug kit and plugged them off and just used electric start. These are a pretty simple little unit. Well, we can take this one apart. This just unscrews off there. And there's a little keyway, a little key in there. It all drops out through the center. And you can take pull these out, easiest way I figured, just take your fingers like I have them and they'll come right out of there. But you want to clean that surface. You want to lubricate it when you put it back together again. Use a light oil or however you feel. One thing you want to pay attention to, if you do buy new rotors for this outer rotor sometimes will not fit down tightly into the body. It tends to rise up because I've gotten them where they didn't have this chamfered edge all the way around on both sides. The way these are cut, it's got a little bit of a rounded area in there, so they don't fit all the way down. That little chamfer edge gives it a chance to fit close to the body in there. So what I usually do is I'll lubricate all this up and I will set these in place. And the easiest way to do this is if you've got sticky oil, it will stay in place. And then you just drop that down in there. And then your locator pins, boom, are in spot. Put your screws in. Now you can use a little Loctite on these. I've never had one loosen up, but it's a possibility that it can. Tighten that down. Now I have this impact driver. I like them because trying to get those screws out if they've been set right from the factory are a bitch. And when you're installing these, what you're going to end up doing is you use this impact, boom, boom, boom. Okay, she's locked in. Next thing goes on, yeah, I gotta find it here, is the gear. Next thing after that is that little key. You just rotate it down in there. There it goes. After that is the drive for the tack. That slides down on there. Whether you use the tack or not, you're going to need this gear on there, because it helps lock everything in place. Now if you look at that gear, it's got a little bit of a recess. That's where your lock washer goes, and then your nut. If you've noticed on this also has a recess area. That goes on your pump, goes that way, so you have a flat surface up. When you're torquing these are a 10 millimeter. But what I'll do is I'll take a screwdriver and I'll set it in the gear right there, and I'll bring this down till it's tight. That just helps lock it. Just holds it in place while you're playing with it. So then you got to install your tack drive. Now some guys will actually plug these off, or they actually make a screw-on cap. There's a threaded piece that comes out that's not in this one, that you just screw the cap onto and it's sealed. You're good to go. Now you don't have to have this shaft in there. You can just put this in with that on there, screw it on, cap it, you're good to go. Okay, let's get back to this. So when you're installing that, it's a very important item. A lot of the guys do when they pull these cases off, pull the stuff, they don't pay attention. There is a little flat washer or a spacer that goes in there. When you put these in, it all slides in. That little spacer there is what it rides against, so it doesn't chew up the case. It just rides against this little and then slides in. There we go. Now when you're putting this part in, there you go. There's a little notch, and I'll show you. This is a broken one, but it'll give you the. There's a little hole right there for one of this special little screw that screws in there. So when you screw that in there, what that does, it goes into that hole and locks it off. So this unit can't pull out. Now you have your tack drive. You can see how that works. It's just a simple little drive. This is driven off of your clutch basket, moves the pump, pumps the oil. Now on this side, oh, one thing I want to mention, there's some dowel pins. These guys that go in here, that plug in. I usually put them on the case because it holds the gasket in place as you're putting this on. A lot of guys, yeah, I don't need those. Well, you do. What that does is it keeps that case, this outer case here, the cover, from moving, and it helps alignment when you're putting it together so you don't wear out parts. We get over onto this side here. Now there's several different oil filters or screens that you can use. The sump is down here, your major one down here that you need to pull out every once in a while. I like to pull it when I do oil changes just to clean it. That's what they look like. They're a nice unit. The problem with one, every once in a while, after age, they will wear out. And these little filtering screens, they will break down. Now I've seen guys patch them, and they put a patch in here over it, solder it in, and they work. These are about 37 bucks, 38 bucks to replace. They come with little magnets on here on either side that can pick up any of your particulate filings as your motor is wearing and such. What it does is it picks up those and sticks them right there. So when you pull this out and clean it, you're cleaning all this. This, all you have to do is I just use a solvent, clean them up, put them back together, maybe put a new gasket on the bottom. The other one's good. I use the greens, the screen style material, so you don't really have to put any sealant on it. They tend to seal up pretty good, and you can use them several times before you end up having to replace them. But you want to make sure that that one's clean. And then you have another one located in here. And on the original, the way they were set up, they were this style of screen. In, unit drops in, this gets tightened down. You snug it down. You don't try to wrench it down. You want to bring it down snug. What happens, I've seen in the past, people have tightened them down too tight and basically crushed them. You can see on this one here how it's pushed out. So you're kind of crushing it. Same thing on these. Those 3 little screws on your sump one, they just have to go down and snug. If you're really worried about it, put a little blue Loctite on it, you're good to go. So here's another one. These are particulates. I don't know if you can make it out that well, but this has picked up all sorts of little fibers and stuff in there. There's one over here. It's got some darkness on it. That's from the chain guides inside the engine, the upper deals. They will wear over time, and particulates will come off of those. But these are easy. You just have to put them in your little solvent cleaner, clean them out, you're good to go. You want to have a little bit more filtration. They do make a kit that drops in the same spot that has a filter on it, paper filter. You can get that from Mike's XS, I believe. Hughes Hand Built makes one, but his works with the standard filter, the standard here. What that does is just add more fluid in there, and it sticks out. You can see here for more cooling. XS650 makes literally makes one that has a filter that screws on. I don't have one of those, I'd show you, but this is what the filter looks like. It just screws down, locks off, good to go. You do have to do some modifications. You do have to seal up these mounting holes. Now, originally this is what the cover looked like. So you have that, and that gets screwed down into place. With this style here, if you're going to use the screw on, there's an attachment that comes up. If you do that route, this is what I made up. I made up this little sander, get the JB weld, I think is what they use. You can drop this in there and sand it. And all that is one of these old covers that I've put in some sandpaper on, glued it on there, tapped it for some 1/4-20 into there, because you just need something that you can rotate, smooth it out, you're good to go. Just a little tip. But with these, like I said, you can either have this style of kit, and then this drops down on, pushes everything in place, seals it up, and then you have a paper filter. Or you can go back to the old screen system. That drops in, this screws down, and that drops into place. Boom, you're good to go. We've got this all figured out, the tack drive's all figured out. What I'm running on this one here, all I'm running is a standard filter with this and the larger cap on mine. I've ran both systems before, they both work. One of the drawbacks is what I keep hearing from people is that the paper filter over the screen filter, since these are low pressure engine, is that you lower your pressure of your fluid going through to the main engine because you're pushing it through paper. That's one side, and the other side, I just use a screen to get maximum flow. I do like the fact of having a little bit more oil in there and ability to extra cool it from the outside. So we've covered the oil side, the inspection of all the pump gears and everything, what you should be looking for. And I think now what we need to do is we need to move over to one little upgrade that I like a lot. We have a push rod that sits in here that goes across, which is activated by the push rod assembly. So your clutch cable comes in from right here. This attaches on a little catch. Do I have one handy? Yes, I do. There's a little lock-in catch area right here, and some of them actually have a little tab that holds it down on there in case it got too loose. But what that does is when you pull on your hand grip, it moves that, and when it moves that, it pushes a rod in which disengages the clutch. And these should be pulled once in a while and cleaned because they're kind of in a dirty area. This is a sprocket area. You can see this one's, you can see what I was talking about, a dirty area, because you got a sprocket and everything in here. So you basically want to do is you want to clean these up inside and out, re-lubricate this and the shaft, because these are, all that does is it just screws down in there like such. So when you're installing these, all you're doing is you're putting them in here, tightening down the two screws that hold it in place, and then you drop that in. So the adjustment on these, this screws in and out. And what you have in here in the bottom, which I don't have on this one, oh yeah, here we go, is a ball bearing that fits right in there. So when your push rod, it has something to ride against. And then on the other end of this, you have another ball bearing that's on the inner case there, right where it pushes and disengages the clutch. Originally, these came with, it's a two-piece, with a ball bearing in the middle, ball bearing at this end, and a ball bearing at that end. What I like is I like these solid shaft ones. I think you get more positive clutch disengagement using this. I believe Mike's XS has them. I think 650 Central carries them. So the cable is backed off all the way at the handlebar. And then you're in here backing this screw off. And what you want to do is you want to run this down, this inner screw. You want to run it down till you feel it touch. Feel it touch. I mean, you just do it a couple times so you got it touch. Then you want to do a half turn and then tighten up your locking nut. Give it a good yank down, and then you can adjust your hand cable, and you should be good to go on that whole system. Well, I hope that helps. Hope you've learned something, what type of oil pump, what to look for on the oil pump, upgrades that you can get, type of filtering system, whether it's stock or aftermarket. If there's any questions about today's episode of what we've been doing on oil pumps and filters and that or whatever, put a comment down below, whether it's good or bad. If I kind of misled people, let me know, because you know I'm learning in this too. I like you know, flipping it back and forth. You know, something, you know, always got to learn something once a day. You know, whether it's good or bad. So anyway, so this is Mr. Miyagi signing off again. But please like, share, and subscribe. And y'all have a good day now, and thanks for watching. Talk to you later.